continue reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is. We are reading from the introduction. And the material nature itself is constituted by three qualities. The mode, no, we did that. Okay. Ishvara, the Supreme Lord. Jiva, the living entity. Prakriti, nature. Kal, eternal time. And karma, activity, are all explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Out of these five, the Lord, the living entities, material nature, and time are eternal. So we, the living entities, we are eternal. We continue to exist eternally. It's not that that we didn't exist before and that we are just existing now and we will stop to exist later after we leave this body. No, we are eternal. As the Lord is eternal, God is eternal, He always exists. Similarly, the living entities also always exist. And this material nature also always exists. We might see it sometimes and might not see it sometimes. Sometimes it's all the ingredients are again wrapped up in the body of Mahavishnu. And sometimes it is manifest. So it is temporary. The manifestation is temporary, but she is there. She always exists. And time is eternal. So the manifestation of Prakriti may be temporary, but it is not false. Some philosophers say that the manifestation of material nature is false. But according to the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, or according to the philosophy of the Vaishnavas, this is not so. The manifestation of the world is not accepted as false. It is accepted as real but temporary. It is likened unto a cloud which moves across the sky, or the coming of the rainy season, which nourishes grains. So many people say that this material nature is false. They say it's false, it doesn't exist. But the devotees know, and the Bhagavad Gita confirms this, that the material nature is not false, it is existing. We are right now here. We, you, me, we are all of us here in this material world right now. It's not that we are not here. We are very much here. Now, what is false is that we think we are the body. That is false because we are not the body, we are the soul inside the body. As the example is given that if we are traveling on the bus, we are very much on the bus. It's not that the bus is false, but our thinking that the seat we are sitting on belongs to us permanently. That idea is false because one day or the other we have to get down from that bus. And so then that seat will be occupied by somebody else. So this material nature is, it exists, it very much exists, but it is temporary. And we thinking that I am this body, that is false because I am a soul. That is the correct identity. And then what is the duty as a soul? That also we learn in the Bhagavad Gita. So it is likened, okay, we did that. As soon as the rainy season is over and as soon as the cloud goes away, all the crops which were nourished by the rain dry up. Similarly, this material manifestation takes place at a certain interval, stays for a while, and then disappears. Such are the workings of Prakriti, but this cycle is working eternally. Therefore, Prakriti is eternal. It is not false. So here Prabhupada is saying the same thing, that Prakriti, we can see the material world is manifest at some time when Mahavishnu is breathing out, and when he breathes in, the whole Prakriti is inside his body, and then everything is staying there in his body as different individuals, as everything is still different. And then again, when it's time again for the creation to happen, he brings out everything again. So the Lord refers to this as my Prakriti, The material nature is the separated energy of the Supreme Lord. And similarly, the living entities are also the energy of the Supreme Lord, although they are not separated, but eternally related. So this material nature, the material energy, she is a separated energy of Krishna. But we, the living entities, we are his marginal energy. Marginal, why? Because we are actually spiritual energy, but because we are very, very tiny, we do have the tendency to come under illusion, to be influenced by Maya. We have that. So the living entity, so the Lord, the living entity, material nature and time are all interrelated and all are eternal. However, the other item, karma, is not eternal. The effects of karma may be very old indeed. We are suffering or enjoying the results of our activities from time immemorial. But we can change the results of our karma or our activity. And this change depends on the perfection of our knowledge. So sometimes people, they say, oh, what to do, this is my destiny, but karma can change. How did we come in this present moment to whatever karma we are having right now? Is because we took certain decisions in the past. We acted in a certain way. We made certain choices in the past. And that's why we are wherever we are right now. And whatever decisions, whatever choices we make right now, we are creating our future. Yeah. And if we want, we can get out of this cycle of karma. So karma is not eternal. We can change the results. We are engaged in various activities. Undoubtedly, we do not know what sort of activities we should adopt to gain relief from the actions and reactions of all these activities. But this is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita. So in Bhagavad Gita, we are going to learn how we can stop this cycle of karma. Cycle of that whatever action I'm doing, I do not want to suffer or enjoy the reaction of it. And what does that mean? We act in connection to Krishna. We act and we offer the results to Krishna. It doesn't mean that I go kill somebody and I say, here, Krishna, I killed this person for you. No, we follow the instructions of Krishna from Bhagavad Gita. He tells us how we should act and how we should not act. And we should take the guidance of a spiritual master and act according to that. The position of Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, is that of supreme consciousness. The jivas, or the living entities, being parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are also conscious. Both the living entity and material nature are explained as Prakriti, the energy of the Supreme Lord. But one of the two, the jiva, is conscious. The other, Prakriti, is not conscious. That is the difference. Therefore, the jiva Prakriti is called superior because the jiva has consciousness which is similar to the Lord's. Now, Krishna, or Ishwar, the Supreme Lord, he's supremely conscious. Supremely conscious. We, the living entities, are also conscious. The material world, she is not conscious. Material nature is not conscious. What appears, we think that the material nature is living, but is not. Whatever life we see in the material nature is because of the presence of the soul, the jiva. Material nature is always changing. Water will change to, it will evaporate, become clouds, then clouds will move, then again the water, clouds will come as rain. So we can see material nature keeps changing, but doesn't mean that she's living. It's still just dead matter. But what is living is the jiva soul. That inside this body of ours, we, the soul, are inside. And that's the reason this body is moving. The minute we leave this body, it will be called a dead body and it cannot move. Therefore, okay. And so that's the reason we are superior to this material energy. We are superior to the Prakriti because we are conscious. The Lord is supreme consciousness. However, and one should not claim that the Jiva, the living entity, is also supremely conscious. The living being cannot be supremely conscious at any stage of his perfection, and the theory that he can be so is a misleading theory. Conscious he may be, but he is not perfectly or supremely conscious. So we have that experience. I am just conscious of my own body's pains. I'm not conscious of what you're going through. Sure, I can empathize with you, but I don't know what are your deepest desires or what are you feeling exactly. No, I can't. So I can be just, we are conscious, but we are not supremely conscious. Whereas Krishna, because he's the super soul in everyone's heart, he understands everyone's desires. He is supremely conscious. We are conscious, he's supremely conscious. But does it mean that because he's supremely conscious, he does not have a form? No, he has a form. His form is Satchidananda, and he's supremely conscious. It doesn't mean that he does not have a body if he's conscious. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Very nice explanation.
Yeah. Are there any questions or comments on this?
So the 5 things you mentioned, we are talking about that in the Bhagavad Gita, right? That is what the Bhagavad Gita is explaining, like the
Yes.
Ishwar, Jeev, Prakriti, Kal, Tatha Karma.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
among them, the Ishwar, Jeev, and Prakriti and Kal, they are not the changeables, they are eternal, right?
That's right.
Because Ishwar is the Bhagwan is eternal, then Jeev is our soul is eternal, right? Jeev is the soul, right?
That's right.
And then Prakriti is the nature is eternal.
That's right.
And Kal is time, we cannot change it.
Yeah, Kal eternally. Kal is also eternal.
Yeah, it's also eternal. But what we can do is the karma, right?
Yeah, karma is changeable. Karma is not eternal.
Karma is not eternal. So like that, it's not eternal means that whatever karma we have got, like we got born with our pious results in this body, with our desire and our karma, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is changeable by what we do today.
Yeah, in the sense, so every action has its reaction, right?
Yeah.
But Bhagavad Gita teaches us that we can act so that we don't get a reaction.
Okay.
And that is called akarma.
Okay.
Because till the time we have karma, we are going to be coming in this cycle, samsara. Till the time we have karma, we have to continue coming, continue acting. Now, how to get rid of this karma? We start doing akarma. And what is akarma? Engage in devotional service. Offer all the results to Krishna. Connect each and every activity to Krishna. Krishna, I'm yours. I want to come back. Leave it to Krishna. He will bring us back.
Okay.
Yeah. Was there any other question on consciousness or supreme consciousness? Anything? Chandra Didi, any question?
Please explain, sir.
I'm
Conscious, superconscious. Please explain if you had time. Conscious, superconscious. Just now you told, no?
Yeah.
Can you explain?
Okay. Let's read the next paragraph. It's more clear here. The distinction between the Jiva and Ishvara will be explained in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The Lord is Kshetragya, conscious, as is the living being, but the living being is conscious of his particular body, whereas the Lord is conscious of all the bodies, of all bodies. Because he lives in the heart of every living being, he is conscious of the psychic movements of the particular jivas. We should not forget this. So Krishna is there as Paramatma in all our hearts. He's in your heart, he's in my heart. So he understands what we are going through. He understands each of our desires. And that's how he's facilitating the fulfillment of our desires. But we are not supremely conscious. If I say yes, yes, even I'm supremely conscious, I don't even know what's happening, you know. I barely can understand what's happening in my own body, that I will be able to, I cannot feel your pain. If you get a hurt, I can't feel it. I can empathize with you. Yes, I can empathize. I can feel sorry for you. I can feel bad for you, but I can't feel your pain. But Krishna is conscious of all this. So we should not forget this. This is also explained that the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is living in everyone's heart as Ishvara, as the controller, and that he is giving directions for the living entity to act as he desires. So Krishna is giving us the directions to act as we desire. The living entity forgets what to do. First of all, he makes a determination to act in a certain way, and then he is entangled in the actions and reactions of his own karma. So what we are doing, we are making so many actions, right? Because of these actions, we are going to get a reaction. Then we'll give up this body. Then we will come in another body. And then when we are in another body, we have forgotten everything of this past body. We don't remember. But Krishna, who's in our heart, remembers. And then he will say, hey, you had this desire. So continue acting in that. You had wanted to do this. You had wanted to do that. We can't do that. We do not have the capacity to do it. But Krishna can. Krishna never forgets. We forget. And that's how he's supremely conscious. So after giving up one type of body, he enters another type of body as we take off and put on clothes. As the soul thus migrates, he suffers the actions and reactions of his past activities. These activities can be changed when the living entity is in the mode of goodness, insanity, and understands what sort of activities he should adopt. If he does so, then all the actions and reactions of his past activities can be changed. Consequently, karma is not eternal. Therefore, we stated that of the 5 items, Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, time, and karma, 4 are eternal, whereas karma is not eternal. So karma can change. We can change our modes. And because we change our mode, then we can act. We can make the proper choice. We can change our karma. Now, the Supreme Conscious Ishwar is similar to the living entity in this way. Both the consciousness of the Lord and that of the living entity are transcendental. That it is not that consciousness is generated by the association of matter. So first we have to understand that consciousness is transcendental. It is not matter. Earth, water, air, fire, ether is not conscious. Our computer is not conscious. It's just matter. It's only when we press the keys, some person is there to type, then it will do the work. It cannot just do the work by itself. But the Lord's consciousness and the living entity's consciousness is transcendental. It is not material. Okay, the theory that consciousness develops under certain circumstances of material combination is not accepted in the Bhagavad Gita. Consciousness may be pervertly reflected by the covering of material circumstances, just as light reflected through colored glass may appear to be a certain color. But the consciousness of the Lord is not materially affected. So Krishna's consciousness is never covered. Our consciousness gets covered. We forget who we are, but Krishna never forgets himself. He never, when he was a small baby, as in his mother's lap, he showed the universal form to his mom. And then he killed Putana. He was a few days old. Can we do all that? No, we are just busy crying when we are a few days old. We don't know anything what's happening, you know. So Krishna says, the Lord Krishna says, Maya Dhyakshena Prakriti. When he descends into the material nature, into the material universe, his consciousness is not materially affected. If he was so affected, he would be unfit to speak on transcendental matters as he does in the Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada is saying that if Krishna is also a product of this material world, if he still has a material body, then there is no meaning to Bhagavad Gita. Why should we even hear and speak about the Bhagavad Gita? The reason we are hearing from Bhagavad Gita is because it's spoken by Krishna, who is not material, who is fit to speak about spiritual matters. So one cannot say anything about the transcendental world without being free from materially contaminated consciousness. So the Lord is not materially contaminated. Our consciousness at the present moment, however, is materially contaminated. So our consciousness is contaminated. What does it mean? We are thinking we are this body. That is our contamination. But Krishna's consciousness is never contaminated. He never forgets his position. He always knows who he is, that he is the Supreme Lord. He's never come under this Maya potency. Otherwise, if he was in Maya, then we do not need to hear Bhagavad Gita. We do not need to hear it. But because he is transcendental in all circumstances, then whatever he speaks is transcendental. And so we take the teachings from his transcendental speech, and that is Bhagavad Gita. So the Bhagavad Gita teaches that we have to purify this materially contaminated consciousness. In pure consciousness, our actions will be dovetailed to the will of the Ishvara, and that will make us happy. It is not that we have to cease all activities. Rather, our activities are to be purified, and purified activities are called bhakti. So right now our consciousness is contaminated that I am the enjoyer, I am the proprietor, I am the controller. That's what we are thinking. But by hearing from Bhagavad Gita teaches us what? It teaches us that the Ishwar, that we, the jivas, are not the controller, not the enjoyer, not the proprietor, but the Supreme Lord is that. And that we should offer the results of all our activities for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. And in that way, we will be happy. So it's not that we stop acting, no, but we purify our activities, and this purification of activities is called bhakti. Activities in bhakti appear to be like ordinary activities, but they are not contaminated. So ordinary activities means what? I'm doing this activity for my pleasure. I will do this, I will be happy. And bhakti means I will do this, then Krishna will be happy. Or I will do this because it makes me happy, but I will offer the result of this to Krishna, and then Krishna will be happy, and then I will be happy. You know? So, an ignorant person may see that a devotee is acting or working like an ordinary man, but such a person with a poor fund of knowledge does not know that the activities of the Lord or of the devotee or of the Lord are not contaminated by impure consciousness or matter. They are transcendental to the three modes of nature. We should know, however, that at this point, our consciousness is contaminated. So we have to purify our consciousness. And the way we purify our consciousness is chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Then everything will become clear. Right now, because our consciousness is contaminated, we are not able to see things as they are. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then we can continue reading tomorrow, because here also, I'm sorry.
No, so because of our contamination, because we get contaminated, that we get bewildered.
Yeah, that's what. That's exactly. Is, for example, if the window is really dirty of our house, we can't see outside what's clear. We can't see clearly, right? We might make up things, you know. because things appear distorted then, because we can't see clearly. We might just make up something or the other. But once we clean the window, I thought this was a tree. This is a man actually, like that. So it's our consciousness has become, although we are spirit souls, but because we are tiny, so we have this tendency to become covered, to get contaminated by nature, by material nature. We have this tendency. But Krishna, he can never come under, his consciousness is never contaminated. And does it mean that once I purify my consciousness, then does it mean that I become Krishna?
No.
That's right. No, we never ever become God. Even when we get liberated, even if our consciousness is purified, we have to accept the fact that we are tiny parts. We are not unlimited. That's who we truly are, tiny parts. Even though we want to be God. That's the reason we are here in the material world. We want to be Krishna. And that's why we are here. That's why we pretend that I'm the controller, I'm the enjoyer, I'm the proprietor. We imitate him, we are envious of him. But this material world is so creative that Krishna says, okay, you try to do what you want to do, but then you will understand the truth. So we just have to accept the truth, who we are.
So to purify our bewilderedness or the contamination, to purify that, we have to do chanting and follow the 4 regulative principles.
That's right.
Because that is only the way.
That's right. That's the only way. That's right.
Because we get bewildered and we get contaminated. We think that we are okay. Like, I'll just share an incident. Like, every day we are chanting, but when we go out with friends, that is the biggest test we have in life, in the real life. How we are reacting, and why things that doesn't matter to us are mattering. Why? Because that shouldn't matter to us. How talking something ill about somebody will make difference in our life. It's just going to drag us more low and low and low. But we get in the flow.
That's right.
And we are trying to control that. But when we are in the test, like, I think it's the same thing as the examination paper. When we are there, we do what we do is what we have been practicing, and then that's the examination paper when we are going out in public.
That's right.
So we forget, and then sometimes we fail and sometimes we pass. So that's same with us. If in that situation we control and we remember Krishna, please, because now I have done this process. I don't know how much, I mean, Krishna must be helping definitely, that if I go out, I definitely tell Krishna that, please, Krishna, I'm going out in Maya, so help me, don't leave me there. Because I might make mistakes and I don't want to hurt, and I want to be a good instrument of yours. So help me, Krishna, please.
Yes, very good.
Because we get carried away and we might hurt and we might do the same things that we have been doing, because that's our dirty soul.
Yeah, exactly. So what happens is, for example, when a person starts taking shower, then there is a process, right? You're taking the shower, but it takes a little while till the time you clean yourself properly, because there's so much dirt. So that's just it is. It's a process.
But we can't stop taking shower.
Yeah, of course not.
Just because we think that we are not getting cleansed. Like, I think in one of the lectures you mentioned that the process is slow, but it is sure.
Yeah.
No matter, because we don't see it instantly, but we are so dirty that even we are able to self-introspect. That is a great thing.
You can test that is the process is working by seeing that right now you're willing to self-introspect. You're able to understand, oh, I acted this way. Later you can come back home, or after many days, or after some time, we are able to check, oh, I acted this way, which was not really nice. I shouldn't have done that. Whereas earlier, we didn't even have that realization that what I'm doing is totally wrong.
Wrong. Yes. Yes.
You know,
We blame the other person.
Yeah. So this is a proof that the process is working. That's
And
it.
I'm sure because wherever Krishna is, the process has to work. There is no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Because Krishna is there.
Yeah.
And he
Krishna.
loves us so much that it cannot go wrong.
Yeah. And he is making the arrangements for us to come. I mean, you know, we are who are we? We are so, we have no qualification. We are so impure, so many material desires. And now we want to go back home where everything is so pure, no material desire at all. Everybody is just trying to please Krishna, and in that way they are being happy. You know, what's our qualification? And yet Krishna is saying, come, come. He sent Prabhupada. Go bring these people back home. You know, they are unnecessarily loitering around and suffering. Go bring them home. So then Prabhupada, he sent Prabhupada. So how merciful Krishna is. He doesn't leave us alone, you know. If somebody were to be offensive to us, if somebody would, like we do everything for that person, we raise them, we protect them, we provide for them, make sure they are comfortable, and then that person kills us. Then we'll say, I will not forgive you. I did so much for you, and this is what you do me in return. But Krishna is not like that. You know, we are openly envious of Krishna that, oh, why should I worship you? And then, but what is he doing? He's saying, my dear little soul, come back. I'm waiting for you for so long. That's how merciful and how loving he is. So we just continue the process and Avishya Rakshibe Krishna, depend on Krishna. You know?
Yeah. Wow, so beautiful.
We just depend on him. What can we do? We are just tiny, tiny. We don't have, you know, what can we do?
Yeah,
Just
nothing.
stand here and chant. Krishna sees the time that we spend for his service, the time that we are spending for his service. Because otherwise, what we do is, oh, I have a limited time in this body, so let me try to make myself as comfortable as I can, enjoy myself as much as I can. Now, because time is so valuable, right, to each of us. Some of us say time is money. Oh, let me not waste time because I can make money out of it. Some of us will say, oh, time is whatever that we are, that's our passion, you know. So we are exchanging time for whatever that we are passionate about. And because we each of us subconsciously know that time is so limited. But when Krishna sees, oh, with this limited time, you are using that time to reestablish your relationship with me, then Krishna is happy and he makes the arrangements for us to come back to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare
for
Krishna.
nice input and questions. So was there anything else?
No.
No?
Thank you. Thanks for nice explanation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhabhi. Thank you,
Hare
Shilpaji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.